My name is Clara. I was 26 years old when everything in my life fell apart. I lived in a small town near the mountains. My apartment was tiny, just one room with a small kitchen and bathroom. The walls were thin, and I could hear my neighbors talking every night. 6 months ago, I lost my mother. She was sick for a long time, and I spent all my savings on her medicine and hospital bills. After she died, I had nothing left. No money, no family, just me and a mountain of debt. I worked at a flower shop in the town center. The pay was very small, only enough for food and basic needs. But it was not enough to pay the rent and the hospital bills that kept coming in the mail. Every morning I opened the mailbox with fear. More bills, more final warnings, more red letters that said, "Pay now or lose everything." I tried to find a second job. I applied to restaurants, hotels, and offices, but no one called me back. The town was small, and there were not many opportunities. Days became weeks, weeks became months. I stopped sleeping well. Every night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about what would happen if I could not pay next month's rent. One Saturday afternoon, my friend Emma came to visit me at the flower shop. Emma was a nurse at the local hospital. She was always busy, always helping people. But that day, she looked at me with concern in her eyes. "Clara, you look terrible," she said softly. "Are you eating enough? Are you sleeping?" I tried to smile, but I could not. I told her I was fine, but my voice broke. Emma sat down next to me and held my hand. She did not say anything for a moment. Then she told me something I will never forget. "There is a man," she said quietly, "a very rich man. He comes to the hospital sometimes for checkups. His name is Marcus. He lost his wife 3 years ago. She died giving birth to their baby. The baby died too." I listened in silence. I did not understand why she was telling me this. Emma continued. "He wants to have a child again, but he does not want to get married. He does not want love. He just wants a baby. He is looking for someone healthy and responsible. He is willing to pay a lot of money." My heart stopped. I looked at Emma. "What do you mean?" I asked. She looked down at her hands. "He is looking for a surrogate, a woman to carry his baby. He will pay $400,000. I could not breathe. $400,000. That was more money than I could imagine. It could pay all my debts. It could give me a new start. It could change my life completely. "Is this real?" I asked. Emma nodded. "Yes, but Clara, you need to think carefully. This is not easy. It is 9 months of your life. And there are rules, strict rules." That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed thinking about Emma's words. $400,000, a baby, 9 months. My mind was full of questions and fears, but I also felt something else. Hope. The next morning, I told Emma I wanted to meet this man. She gave me his phone number and address. My hands were shaking as I wrote it down. 3 days later, I stood in front of a large house on the edge of town. It was made of stone and wood, with tall windows and a beautiful garden. I had never seen a house like this before. It looked like something from a magazine. I rang the doorbell and waited. My heart was beating so fast. After a moment, the door opened. A man stood there. He was tall, maybe 35 years old, with dark hair and serious eyes. He wore simple clothes, a white shirt and black pants. But there was something about him that made him look important. "My name is Marcus," he said. His voice was deep and calm. "You must be Clara." I nodded. I could not speak. My throat felt dry. He invited me inside. The house was beautiful. Everything was clean and organized. We sat in the living room. The furniture was expensive, and the walls were covered with paintings. There was a large window that showed the mountains in the distance. Marcus sat across from me. He did not smile. He looked at me like a doctor examining a patient. "Emma told you about the arrangement?" he asked. "Yes," I said quietly. He nodded. "Then I will explain the rules. This is a business agreement, nothing more. There will be no emotions, no personal relationship. You will live here for 9 months from now until the baby is born. You will not leave the house. You will not contact anyone outside. No friends, no phone calls. A doctor will come every week to check your health." I listened carefully. Each word felt heavy. He continued. "After the baby is born, you will leave. You will not see the baby again. You will not contact me. You will sign a legal document that says you have no rights to the child. In return, you will receive $400,000. Half now, half after the birth." I looked at him. His face showed no emotion. He was not asking me. He was telling me. "Do you understand?" he asked. I took a deep breath. I thought about my mother. I thought about the bills. I thought about sleeping on the floor because I could not afford a bed anymore. I thought about the fear that followed me every day. "Yes," I said, "I understand." Marcus took out a document. It was many pages long. I read it slowly. My hands were cold. The words were clear. No contact, no emotions, no future. Just money and a baby. I picked up the pen. My hand was shaking. I signed my name at the bottom of the page. From that moment, my life changed completely. Living in Marcus's house was strange. The rooms were big and quiet. There were books everywhere, paintings on the walls, and large windows that showed the mountains. But the house felt empty. It felt cold, even though the fireplace was always burning. I had my own room on the second floor. It had a large bed, a closet, and a small bathroom. Everything was clean and comfortable, but I felt like a guest, not like someone who belonged there. Marcus worked most of the day. He had an office downstairs where he spent hours on his computer. I did not know what he did for work. He never told me, and I never asked. The rules said no personal questions. Every morning I woke up alone. I ate breakfast alone in the kitchen. I spent the day reading books from Marcus's library or looking out the window at the mountains. Sometimes I walked in the garden, but I could not leave the property. The gate was always locked. A doctor came every week. Her name was Dr. Hannah. She was kind and gentle. She checked my blood pressure, listened to the baby's heartbeat, and asked me how I felt. But even with her, I could not talk about my life or my feelings. The rules said no personal information. I missed Emma. I missed talking to people. I missed hearing laughter and music. The silence in the house was heavy. Sometimes I felt like I was disappearing. Marcus and I ate dinner together every evening. But we did not talk. We sat at opposite ends of a long table, eating in silence. Sometimes I looked at him and wondered what he was thinking, but his face never showed emotion. He was like a statue. Weeks passed, then months. My stomach started to grow. I could feel the baby moving inside me. It was a strange feeling, both beautiful and frightening. I was carrying a life, but it was not mine. It belonged to Marcus. One evening, something changed. I was sitting in the living room reading a book when Marcus walked in. He usually went straight to his office after dinner, but that night he stopped. "May I sit?" he asked. I looked up, surprised. "Yes," I said. He sat in the chair across from me. For a moment, we said nothing. Then he spoke. "How do you feel?" he asked. His voice was softer than usual. "I feel okay," I said. "The baby is healthy." He nodded. Then he looked at the fire. "Do you ever regret this?" he asked quietly. I did not know how to answer. The truth was complicated. "Sometimes," I said honestly, "but I needed the money. I had no other choice." He looked at me. For the first time, I saw something in his eyes. Sadness. "I understand," he said. "I also had no other choice." I wanted to ask him what he meant, but before I could speak, he stood up. "Good night, Clara," he said, and he walked out of the room. That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about his words. I also had no other choice. What did he mean? Why did he choose this way to have a baby? Why did he build so many walls around himself? The next morning, I woke up early. I went downstairs to make tea. As I walked past Marcus's office, I heard a sound. It was soft, like someone crying. I stopped and listened. The sound came from inside the office. I knew I should not, but I pushed the door open slightly. Marcus was sitting at his desk with his head in his hands. In front of him was a photograph. Even from where I stood, I could see it was a picture of a woman holding a baby. My heart broke. I understood now. He had lost his wife and child. The pain was so deep that he could not open his heart again. That was why he made this arrangement. He wanted a child, but he was too afraid to love again. I closed the door quietly and went back to my room. I sat on the bed and cried. Not for myself, but for him. For the man who had lost everything and was now trying to get it back in the only way he knew how. Days passed. Marcus and I did not talk about that night. But something between us changed. He started asking me small questions during dinner. "Did you sleep well? Do you need anything? How is the baby today?" They were simple questions, but they felt important. They made me feel like a person, not just a contract. One afternoon, Marcus came to the garden where I was sitting. He held a small notebook in his hand. "I have been thinking about names," he said, "for the baby." I looked up at him, surprised. "You want my opinion?" "Yes," he said. He sat down next to me on the bench. "You are carrying this baby. Your opinion matters." I felt warmth in my chest. For the first time since I came to this house, I felt like I mattered. "If it is a boy," I said, "I like the name Leo. It means brave." Marcus wrote it down. "And if it is a girl?" "Sophia," I said. "It means wisdom." He smiled. It was small, but it was real. "I like both," he said. We sat together in silence, watching the mountains. The sun was setting and the sky was orange and pink. I felt peaceful. For the first time in months, I did not feel alone. But peace did not last long. 1 week later, something happened that changed everything. I was in the kitchen making lunch when I heard a car outside. I looked through the window and saw a woman getting out. She was beautiful, with long red hair and expensive clothes. She walked to the front door and knocked loudly. Marcus opened the door. I could hear their voices from the kitchen. "What are you doing here, Victoria?" Marcus said. His voice was cold. "I heard rumors," the woman said. "People are talking, Marcus. They say you have a woman living here. Is it true?" My heart started to beat fast. I stayed in the kitchen, not moving. "That is none of your business," Marcus said. "None of my business?" Victoria's voice was sharp. "We were going to get married, Marcus. We were going to build a life together. And then you left me. You said you were not ready. But now you have another woman?" I heard footsteps. Victoria had pushed past Marcus and was now in the house. She walked from room to room until she found me in the kitchen. She stopped and stared at me. Her eyes went to my stomach. I was 5 months pregnant now. It was obvious. "Who is she?" Victoria asked, turning to Marcus. "She is the surrogate," Marcus said calmly. Victoria's face changed. First shock, then anger, then pain. "A surrogate," she whispered. "You are paying someone to have your baby?" "Yes," Marcus said. Victoria looked at me again. "How much is he paying you?" she asked. I did not answer. I could not speak. She laughed, but it was not a happy sound. It was bitter and sad. "This is what you chose, Marcus. This is your answer? You think a baby will fix the pain? You think money can replace love?" Marcus's face was stone. "You need to leave, Victoria." "I loved you," she said, her voice breaking. "I wanted to help you heal, but you pushed me away. And now you are doing this?" She turned and walked out. I heard the front door slam. Then silence. I stood in the kitchen, frozen. Marcus came back and looked at me. His face showed nothing. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Am I okay?" I repeated. "Marcus, who was that woman?" "She was my fiancée," he said. "We were together for 2 years, but I ended it." "Why?" He looked away. "Because I could not give her what she wanted. She wanted love. She wanted a future. I could not give her those things. I am broken, Clara. I am not capable of love anymore." My heart hurt. I wanted to tell him he was wrong. I wanted to tell him that I had seen his tears, that I had heard him cry. But I did not. Instead, I went to my room and closed the door. That night, I made a decision. I could not stay in this house anymore. The arrangement had seemed simple at first, money for a baby. But now it felt wrong. I was not just carrying a baby, I was living with a man who was suffering. And I was starting to care about him. That was the problem. I was starting to have feelings for Marcus, and feelings were not part of the agreement. The next morning, I packed my things. I took my clothes, the few books I had brought, and the first payment Marcus had given me. I left a note on the kitchen table. "I cannot do this anymore. I am sorry. I will return the money after the baby is born. Clara." I walked out of the house before the sun came up. I did not look back. I went to Emma's apartment. She opened the door in her pajamas, looking confused. "Clara, what are you doing here?" she asked. "I left," I said. "I could not stay." She pulled me inside. "What happened?" I told her everything, about Marcus's pain, about Victoria, about the feelings growing in my heart. Emma listened carefully. When I finished, she said, "Clara, you need to rest. You can stay here as long as you need." I nodded. I was tired. So tired. The days that followed were difficult. I tried not to think about Marcus, but I could not stop. I wondered if he was angry. I wondered if he was sad. I wondered if he even cared that I was gone. My stomach continued to grow. The baby was moving more now. Sometimes I placed my hand on my belly and felt small kicks. Each time my heart felt heavy. This baby was not mine, but I was connected to it. One afternoon, I felt a sharp pain in my side. It was not terrible, but it worried me. Emma took me to the hospital. The doctor said everything was fine. The baby was healthy, but I needed to rest more and eat better. As I left the hospital, I saw something that made my heart stop. Marcus was there. He was standing by the entrance talking to Dr. Hannah. When he saw me, he froze. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Then he walked toward me. "Clara," he said. His voice was quiet. I have been looking for you." "Why?" I asked. "Because I was wrong," he said. "I thought I could do this without emotions. I thought I could keep everything controlled. But I was wrong." I did not know what to say. He continued. "When you left, I realized something. The house felt empty. Not because you were gone, but because the person who made it feel alive was gone." Tears filled my eyes. "I do not want you to come back because of the agreement," Marcus said. "I want you to come back because I care about you. I know I have no right to ask this. I know I broke my own rules, but Clara, I think I am falling in love with you." My breath caught in my throat. I could not believe what I was hearing. The man who said no emotions, no feelings, no future, was now standing in front of me saying he loved me. "Marcus," I whispered, "I do not know what to say." "Say you will give me a chance," he said. His eyes were full of emotion. "Not because of money, not because of the baby, but because you feel something too. I see it in your eyes, Clara. I see it every time you look at me." He was right. I did feel something. I had tried to deny it for weeks, but my heart knew the truth. I cared about him. Maybe I even loved him. But I was scared. "What about Victoria?" I asked. "What about your past?" "Victoria was right about one thing," Marcus said. "I was using this arrangement to avoid pain. I thought if I controlled everything, I would not get hurt again. But pain is not something you can control. Life is not something you can control." He stepped closer to me. "When I lost my wife and baby, I thought I lost the ability to love. I built walls so high that no one could climb them. But you, Clara, you climbed those walls without even trying. You made me feel alive again. You made me want to live again, not just exist." Tears rolled down my face. Emma, who had been standing nearby, quietly walked away to give us privacy. "I am scared, Marcus," I said honestly. "What if this does not work? What if you change your mind? What if—" He put his finger gently on my lips. "What if it does work?" he said softly. "What if we give each other a chance? What if we stop being afraid and start living?" I looked into his eyes. They were no longer cold and distant. They were warm and full of hope. I took a deep breath. "Okay," I said. "Yes, Marcus. I will give us a chance." He smiled. It was the most beautiful smile I had ever seen. He pulled me into his arms and held me gently, careful of my stomach. I could feel his heart beating against mine. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for giving me another chance at life." We went back to the house together, but this time everything was different. The walls that once felt like a prison now felt like home. Marcus was different too. He smiled more. He talked more. He asked about my day, my feelings, my dreams. We spent evenings together, not in silence, but in conversation. He told me about his childhood, about his parents who had passed away, about the dreams he had before tragedy struck his life. I told him about my mother, about growing up in a small town, about my love for flowers and nature. The baby continued to grow. We went to doctor appointments together. Marcus held my hand during ultrasounds. When we saw the baby on the screen, his eyes filled with tears. "It is a girl," Dr. Hannah said one day. Marcus looked at me. "Sophia," he said softly. I nodded. "Sophia. But life is never simple." 1 month before the baby was due, Victoria came back. This time she did not come with anger. She came with sadness. I was in the garden when she arrived. Marcus was at work. She walked slowly toward me, her hands in her pockets. "I am not here to cause trouble. she said when she reached me. "I just came to say something." I waited. "I loved Marcus," she said. "I loved him more than I have ever loved anyone. When he ended our relationship, I was devastated. I blamed you. I thought you took him from me." She paused and looked at my stomach. "But I realize now that I was wrong. Marcus was broken long before you came. I tried to fix him, but you cannot fix someone who does not want to be fixed." "Victoria," I started, but she held up her hand. "Let me finish," she said. "I see the way he looks at you. I saw it the first time I came here, even though I did not want to admit it. He looks at you the way he used to look at his wife. With real love. With hope." Tears filled her eyes. "I came here to tell you that I am letting him go. Truly letting him go. He deserves to be happy. And I think you make him happy." I did not know what to say. "I am sorry," I whispered. She shook her head. "Do not be sorry. Just love him. Love him the way I could not." She turned and walked away. I watched her leave, feeling both sad and grateful. Sad for her pain, but grateful for her blessing. When Marcus came home that evening, I told him about Victoria's visit. He was quiet for a long time. "She was a good person," he said finally. "I hurt her. I hurt her because I was too afraid to let anyone in. But she deserves someone who can love her fully. I could not be that person." "And now?" I asked. He took my hands. "Now I am ready. I am ready to love again. I am ready to be vulnerable. I am ready to build a family with you." My heart felt so full. "I am ready too," I said. Sophia was born on a warm spring morning. The sun was shining and birds were singing outside the hospital window. The delivery was not easy, but when I heard her first cry, all the pain disappeared. The nurse placed her in my arms. She was so small, so perfect. She had dark hair like Marcus and tiny fingers that wrapped around mine. Marcus stood beside me, tears running down his face. "She is beautiful," he whispered, "just like her mother." I looked up at him. "Her mother?" "Yes," he said. "You are her mother, Clara. Not because of a contract, not because of an agreement, but because you carried her, because you loved her, because you are part of this family." I started to cry. Happy tears. "What about the contract?" I asked. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out the document we had signed months ago. He tore it in half. "There is no contract," he said. "There is only love." He knelt beside the bed and looked at both of us. "I want to marry you, Clara. I want us to be a real family. Will you marry me?" I could barely speak. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, Marcus, yes." 6 months later, we got married in the garden of our home. It was a small ceremony with just a few people. Emma was there, smiling and crying. Dr. Hannah was there too. Even some neighbors from town came. Sophia slept peacefully in a small basket decorated with flowers. She wore a white dress, and she looked like a little angel. As Marcus and I said our vows, I thought about how far we had come. I had entered his life as a stranger, desperate for money. He had been a broken man, afraid to feel anything, but together we healed each other. Together we built something beautiful from pain and fear. When Marcus kissed me, I felt complete. Not because he had money, not because he gave me security, but because he gave me something more valuable than anything else. He gave me love, real, honest, vulnerable love. That evening, after all the guests had left, Marcus and I sat in the garden. Sophia was sleeping in his arms. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked. answering that advertisement, coming to my house. I thought about his question. I thought about all the fear, the loneliness, the doubt, but I also thought about everything that came after, the love, the family, the hope. No, I said, I do not regret it, because it brought me to you. It brought me to this. He smiled and kissed my forehead. I love you, Clara. I love you too, Marcus. Sophia made a small sound in her sleep. We both looked down at her and laughed softly. She was our miracle, not because of an agreement, not because of money, but because of love. Thank you for listening to Clara's story. If this story touched your heart or gave you hope, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, sometimes our most difficult moments lead to our most beautiful beginnings. Love can come from the most unexpected places.